Hey guys, welcome back to a Trip of a Lifetime podcast. I'm Celeste.
And I'm Jasmine.
Today we're going to be talking about The Unquiet Dead. It was aired on the 9th of April 2005. It was written by Mark Gatiss and directed by Euros Lyn. Now, Mark Gatiss is really interesting as a writer. Obviously, he's most well known, I think, as co-creator of Sherlock, as well as being co-creator of the BBC Dracula as well. But aside from that, he's a really well-known horror buff. Like, he's done a lot of documentaries to do with things like Bram Stoker and Dracula and all these, and the old Hammer horror films. And the fact that his love of horror really shows in this episode. I mean, there's this bit where the Doctor is with Charles Dickens in the coach, and he's really excited about meeting him, and he's going on and on about this short story called, I wrote it down somewhere, where is it? The Signalman. Right, he's really enthusiastic about that, and you can kind of tell through the script that that's actually Mark's enthusiasm, not necessarily bleeding through into the character of the Doctor. Yeah, you're not very keen on this episode, are you?
No, I really am not. This one was the one that scared me the most out of the whole entirety of Doctor Who, which is really saying something. It even scares me now. It scared me when I watched it first, it scared me now. I didn't want to watch this one as much as all the other ones. I think it's partly because the dead come back to life, which I know obviously isn't true, but it's how it appeared to be for most of the episode, which is a concept that scares me.
Like zombies and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, I do think the eyes especially are pretty creepy, to be fair. Like, I can't really see why you'd think that. Obviously we're introduced to the character of Gwyneth. Now, she is her descendant or indirect descendant is Gwyn Cooper, who shows up as part of Torchwood, which played by the same actor, Eve Miles, which Jasmine didn't even realise that, or wasn't sure if they were related prior to this, were you?
No, you had to tell me the other day, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, it's never explicitly said in the show that they're related, but it's implied in Journey's End. Going back to the first shot of the episode, when it opens and you see like the grandma lying in the coffin, because I can't remember the character's name. No, I know you're really creeped out by that, but you can, if you actually look at the actor's chest, you can actually see them breathing. So I just find that really funny that I mean, clearly the actor themselves is trying to mask it, because you can see it's kind of it's very kind of erratic. You know, it's not like they're breathing evenly. So, but it's very slight, but it is noticeable. So that kind of, I guess, would break the spell for anyone who's quite creeped out by that episode. What else? When the Doctor is landing the TARDIS, they use a lot of shaky cam there, which is actually quite, I'm not sure if it works because it's very hard to. Obviously, they've got to shake it slightly because otherwise you're not going to get that motion. But it was a little distracting, I did think. Of course, with Charles Dickens, we've got our first ever historical character in the show.
I really liked that. That was really good.
Well, I say in the show, I mean the revived era. Obviously, he's the first of many. I think he's the only one in this particular season, but they do have at least one every season. But going back to that, we're all going all over the place with this one. I'm sorry, it's just because we don't have quite as much to talk about as normal. But going back to the Signalman as a short story, at this point it's quite obvious by the way the Doctor's like, oh no, not A Christmas Carol, the other one with the ghosts. Charles Dickens clearly doesn't know what the hell he's on about in that. So I'm assuming, I guess it's implied through this episode that this event is what causes Charles Dickens to go on to write The Signalman as a short story. And I always love it when Doctor Who does that, when they go in and try and fill in the gaps somewhere of like a mystery, or just, this is why they did this. They do it later on with Agatha Christie and why she disappears, or Rosa and why she has to sit on the bus. Things like, or why she has to lose her seat on the bus, that kind of thing.
That's why I personally prefer the episodes that are set in the past to the ones that are set in the future.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Because you get more historical context, and also they fill in the blanks, like you said.
Yeah, I mean they don't always do that. There are ones like the Witchfinders where it's just King James just kind of happens to be there. It doesn't really fit in any specific event. But I guess for me it depends on. It always depends on the episode. I like episodes set in the past. I like ones set in the future. It just honestly depends on the quality of the episode. Right, so we've got the first mention of the Rift in Cardiff. Now, I don't know how. I'm assuming you know how relevant that is.
Vaguely, yes.
I mean, it comes up later on in the series, mainly in oh god, Boomtown, which is an episode I absolutely love. I think it's very underrated. It also appears, it's referenced quite a lot in series 3 and in Torchwood. The whole series of Torchwood is set around the Rift, and is also mentioned briefly in season 2 at the end. It kind of loses its relevance from series 5 onwards, because I think after Children of Earth they close the Rift or something. But I kind of wish they hadn't done that, because it is a really cool concept. I'd love them to bring it back. But basically the Rift is it's like a space between worlds that can be used. Often creatures will slip through. It's also the TARDIS can use it to recharge, things like that. And a lot of future plot points are built on it. Also, you've also got the first mention of Bad Wolf, or at least the first mention the first one I noticed. What happened?
Actually, it was the previous episode that had the first mention.
Yeah, I missed that. What was it? Because I remember I was like, I completely forgot I had to keep watching out for this. But
So when they arrived, they did a vocal mention of Bad Wolf. I'm pretty sure it's the Bad Wolf scenario. It might have been that one. It's the Bad Wolf scenario, but I can't remember if those are the specific words. But it was some kind of Bad Wolf protocol or something on the lines of that.
Yeah. I mean, I knew there must have been one, but it's the most. I feel like it's one of the most obvious ones. It's the one that you kind of can't miss. Also, we've got the first mention of the fact that Pete Tyler's dead. Because they've never actually established whether or not why her dad wasn't there, but it's because he has passed away, and that does get touched on later in the season in Father's Day, and also in series 2, but we're not going to go into that right now. One thing I found interesting with the Gelth, I feel like I'm talking a lot this podcast, I'm sorry. The thing with the Gelth is that they played up really well on the Doctor's guilt. I think this is the first time that people maybe start to realise how involved the Doctor was in this war. It wasn't, because it's kind of implied that he wasn't just on the sidelines with how guilty he feels, because obviously they and the Nestine both lost their worlds because of the Time War. Yeah, so I think it was interesting how the Doctor kept pushing Gwen. Obviously it ended up being the wrong thing to do. Obviously good intentions, but at the end of the day, that kindness is kind of taken for granted by the Gelth. But I found it very interesting that he felt so guilty, because it's something I often forget about this episode.
I did too. I liked the psychicness of Gwyneth with the Rift, in correlation to the Rift. I thought it was very interesting, and it helped add to that scary, creepy, supernatural vibe that was going on throughout the whole of this episode.
Yeah, because often, the psychic can be like a character that ends up being very stereotyped. I thought they did it. I thought Gatiss, and with added help from Russell, did that really well. Because I think this is the first time, obviously, that an episode is credited as not being written by Russell T Davies. But interestingly enough, and I think a lot of people don't actually realise this, is that almost every episode in a showrunner's era is either written or rewritten by the showrunner. So even if it says, this episode was written by Mark Gatiss or Paul Cornell or whatever, that has also been rewritten by Russell T Davies. In fact, he said in the writer's tale that there were only 3 writers that he didn't rewrite the scripts for, and that was Stephen Moffat, Chris Chibnall, both of whom have gone on to become Doctor Who showrunner, and one other writer who I can't actually remember the name of, which is really irritating. There is a third one. It's not Mark Gatiss, it's someone else. But those three writers he wouldn't rewrite. He'd just take their script and run with it. But everyone else, he rewrites aspects of. I really liked the fact that it was Dickens who comes up with the solution, not the Doctor. Dickens, because it happens so much in later eras where the Doctor just kind of figures it out like that, and suddenly it's a really quick solution, even though whereas in this it was built up slowly, and it's not even the Doctor who realizes it's not a quick fix. It's because the gas has been foreshadowed throughout the whole episode. Well, not even foreshadowed, it's explicitly mentioned, and it's the way that they're made of gas, and it's just, I found it really interesting, and it was a nice refresher to see someone else have that epiphany, because there's a lot of writers who kind of forget the fact that other characters have brain cells other than the Doctor. You know what I mean? Like, especially in, oh god, I'm gonna keep dunking on the Chibnall era, and I feel bad because it's not terrible. Like, there are some good parts of the Chibnall era, but the companions basically do nothing most of the time. Like, it's like they kind of like the companions are literally just expositional, just basically exposition with a bit of with Yaz, although Yaz has a bit of a romantic arc with the Doctor. Like, it's very rare that they have anything else to say other than explaining what you can actually see. So it's quite nice that that it isn't just you're not just constantly relying on the Doctor. You were about to say something.
I was gonna say Yaz does also help out sometimes with clues, not all the time, but more than the rest of them, and she can be quite helpful, especially as it progresses.
Maybe in series 13, I'll let you have that. In series 13, she's not that bad, but like mainly because it's just her and Dan, and a lot of the time they're also separated from the Doctor. But anyway, we're not going to go into that. Get to those episodes for a long while yet. So, you got anything else to add?
It was a very scary episode.
Yeah, I guess. What did you think about the blue CGI effects around like the spirits?
I really liked them. Bear in mind, I didn't watch the whole of this episode the whole way through recently, but I have seen it within the vicinity of the last few months. I actually really liked it, and I thought it was as realistic as can be, especially for that time. And it just made it seem more, it made it seem realistic, but not in a realistic way, so it's a supernatural creature, but it actually exists right in front of you.
Yeah, I guess a mixture of practical and CGI helped a lot with that. What about the Gelf? Like, when you actually see the Gelf, I mean, obviously, I don't know if you got to the end bit, but when you see the Gelf actually come alive. You haven't said that bit, have you? God, this is why you should have watched all the way through. But
although I must say, I did like the fact that it was kind of a mystery, and it did a gradual build up, and it got us asking a lot of questions while answering a few gradually, and then at the end it all came together nicely.
Yeah, it's not just one quick fix at the end that Stephen Moffat tends to prefer, especially, and Chibnall occasionally, but mainly Moffat. I'm gonna be honest, he, did that a lot. How did you rate the episode?
Oh, this is difficult. I'm on the spot now. I didn't like it personally because of how scary it was, so I'm gonna just rate it a 5 out of 10. Because I thought the graphics were good, I thought the story was great, but the only reason why I'm rating it so low is because of my personal feelings towards it, and the fact that I just really don't like the episode because of the vibes. But I did think as a whole it was a good episode, but it's still going to be a 5 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, fair enough. I rated it a 6.5. I liked it. It's a bit better than the previous episode, in my opinion, story-wise. I thought it flowed a lot better. Yeah, it's not my favourite. I enjoy it. It's okay. It has aspects, I really like the horror-esque vibes, personally. Like, I'm completely different. I like those gothic horror vibes. Yeah. I don't know. I think the CGI for me is complete opposite again. Like it's that I expected, but it pulled me out a bit. I'm gonna be honest. Whereas the other CGI I could kind of laugh at. This, I don't know. It wasn't bad necessarily, but it's just I don't know. I have mixed feelings. Um, guess that's all for this episode. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I hope you enjoyed this episode and that you'll join us next time when we review what is next episode. Oh, it'll be the Aliens of London World War Three, which I actually really like. I know a lot of people give it a lot of flack, but I love the Slitheen. I do. I feel like they should come back. Anyway, yeah, Aliens World London World War Three will be next episode. So see you next time.
See you next time.